Some of the biggest changes in my life weren't announced. They weren't even celebrated. They were quiet, private choices, the kind no one notices but quietly shape everything. And one of those choices was retiring, selling my townhome, moving across the states. I mean, me driving me, myself, and I with no real plan, just trusting it would all work out. And that's just one example of the kind of quiet, powerful choices I'll be sharing in this episode. But before we dive in, let me welcome you properly. Hey, it's me, Lo, and welcome back to Lo Unmuted. This is season one, Unmuted, a return to self, where I share my journey of becoming. It's the small, quiet decisions, the lessons, and the freedom that comes with aligning your life with who you truly are. So if you're ready to step away from what no longer serves you and live the life on your own terms, well, you're in the right place. So after my second marriage ended, I made a quiet decision, one no one really knew about. I decided to focus on myself, to live intentionally alone, and to honor my own space and energy. Now, that decision didn't make headlines, but it laid the foundation for the life I live now, which is independent, peaceful, and fully in alignment with who I am. Making that decision to live alone taught me a value of honoring myself. And soon after, I had the chance to put that lesson into practice in a bigger, more unexpected way. So let me just walk you through one of the scenarios. It was the summer before the school year started. I'd say it was around July timeframe. And my friend Lisa, who was my teacher friend, had just taken a position at a brand new school near my house. I was so excited because I thought I could help her decorate her classroom. I was going to volunteer a little bit. I was going to have lunch. It all sounded perfect. But fast forward to September. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was September. Yes, because football season had started. I was on my way to see my sons play at their college in West Virginia, which was, about a 5-hour drive from my new house. Perfect timing. So one day, I was just browsing the news and I noticed the housing market was booming. It was a seller's market. And out of curiosity, I contacted my realtor just to see what would happen if I put my townhouse on the market. I mean, I didn't really intend to sell it. As a matter of fact, when I think back on it, I am kicking myself in the butt because I had a really good interest rate. It was in the great area, like a real sought after area. But, I guess that, what is it, FOMO, fear of missing out, got the best of me. So I put it on the market just to explore. And well, before I knew it, the townhouse had generated a ton of interest. And by the time I got to my son's game that weekend, I already had multiple strong offers. Now remember, I said it takes 5 hours to drive to my son's game. That meant it was on the market for 5 hours. And within those 5 hours, I had multiple strong offers. And I hadn't planned on this happening so fast. I hadn't even told anyone. It was sudden, it was private, but it was so very exciting. So when I got back home, I went to my favorite search engine, which is YouTube, and I did a little bit of research on where I could move. I came across this video titled, Don't Move to Dallas. And of course, what did I do? I clicked on it because when it says don't do something, I do it. And within 2 weeks, I had a pre approval, met with a realtor, and started looking at homes. The house that I finally chose, it wasn't exactly what I originally wanted, but the timing was perfect. I mean, everything was aligning, and it was as if I wasn't even driving the vehicle. Like, I wasn't even driving this part of my life. I'll use vehicle as a metaphor of my life. It was like, actually, I was on autopilot, but everything was aligning so perfectly. The closing aligned with the selling of my townhouse, moving across the states, and getting settled. And this was all done in about a month. Yep, about a month. I sold my townhouse. I flew to Dallas. I stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks. And then I moved into my new house. Yep. All quietly, all guided by faith, all without anyone's input. That, listeners, was divine orchestration, a choice made in silence with grace, and it completely shifted my life. And while moving across states was a huge change, sometimes the most transformative choices are smaller, the ones that happen inside of your own home, in the little ways you choose to celebrate yourself, which leads me into the next story I'm about to share. One of my favorite small private decisions was learning to really honor myself in my own space. When I first moved out after my divorce, I remember going to the store, Bath and Body Works, and the first thing I bought was a candle. As a matter of fact, let me back up. One of my favorite small private decisions was learning to really honor myself in my own space. When I first moved out after my divorce into my one bedroom apartment, I went to the store, Bath and Body Works to be exact. And the first things I bought were a candle, a bath bomb, body lotion, and fragrance spray. You see, my ex husband had really bad allergies, and certain scents gave him headaches. So instead of buying things I loved, I opted out completely. I honored his comfort, but in doing so, I diminished my own. So fast forward to moving into the dollhouse, I painted my bathroom pink, floor wallpaper, my very own happy place. It's like my choices, no compromising. I filled my home with sweet fragrances and flowers and colors that make me feel pretty, uplifted, and alive. And that, listeners, is the quiet power of saying yes to yourself. Just like creating a space that reflects me, other choices in my life came quietly. Choices about my relationships, my boundaries, and how I showed up in the world. So, one of those choices is actually to be celibate. Now, the choice to be celibate really did come naturally. I mean, after being married for such a long time, I realized it's kind of woven into me to be in a committed relationship if sex is involved. I tried the hookup culture for a brief time, just a couple of experiences, and it just didn't feel right. It made me question my worth, my value, my morals, even. And choosing to remain single, solo, and celibate, it isn't about judgment. It's about honoring myself, my boundaries, and the life I want. And since I've chosen to live alone and fully embrace my independence, celibacy is just another quiet, intentional decision worth celebrating. When I look at all these moments together, living alone, intentionally moving across the states, creating my space, choosing celibacy, a clear pattern has emerged. And that is the quiet, often unseen decisions are the ones that shape us the most. They don't require headlines or announcements. They just require trust, faith, and courage to honor yourself. Small private choices, loud pivots. That's the lesson I hope you take from this episode. So I want to encourage you, listeners, to notice your own quiet choices, the moments where you honor your peace, your boundaries, and your happiness, because those are the ones that change your life. Thanks for listening to this episode of Low Unmuted. Come back next Wednesday for another story, another reflection, and another step in your journey to becoming. I'll see you then. But until then, stay unmuted.